So, okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, we are recording. Sometimes I like to record. I don't do it a lot. I've recorded about 50 remote learning sessions. I've only watched a couple, but it's sometimes it's good to watch yourself from the third person, from another point of view. Like, um, sometimes you just take a good look in the mirror and it's like, oh, geez, is that me? So every so often, not I don't do it a lot. I promise you, I don't, young people. But the few times that I have watched some of my video lectures, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I watched some of the stuff we did on Gatsby. It's actually quite interesting. You've got to remember one thing. You've got to remember one thing that you always forget. It's not about the teacher. It's about what you think that gives the teacher the opportunity to explore your thought process. For example, I don't care what I think about The Great Gatsby. I've read it. I've written papers on it. I care about what you think about The Great Gatsby, which is why it's so important. Let me make my point, just so it's perfectly clear. I've taught The Great Gatsby 20 times. I never taught The Great Gatsby until I met you from the point of view of Black Lives Matter, from the point of view of the butler. You know what I'm talking about. You weren't absent for Edwards. When we said, what if we changed the novel and flipped the point of view from the rich to the servants? I never thought about that before. But because of the times we live in, and so many people are left outside of the American dream, we changed the point of view of a novel, and now we have a deeper understanding and a deeper respect. And I'm telling you, I know F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author of Gatsby, I know he wanted future generations to say, 100 years after the novel was written in 1926, was published in 1926. I know he said someday, somebody in this multicultural world, in the new immigration, somebody will say, hey, what about the butler? What about that poor silver polisher who rubbed his nose and poisoned his nose because he polished so many forks and spoons? That's what we need to do here. So here's my point. Remember, journal entry number 1 is what you put your black armband on for. I got another homework yesterday, and one of your peers, they said I would put the black armband on for child labor. And then he said something brilliant. He said, in America, we don't really have exploited child labor because we have laws, but we have child labor issues in other countries. And that is true. And I'm going to tell you the story of Primark now. I'm going to go to the notes. And then we're going to work on thesis. I think what we'll do is we're going to work on thesis. Then we're going to work on introduction and start outlining the essay. But you'll see my point. Watch this. You're going to really appreciate this. Okay. You're going to really appreciate this. You're going to be glad you got up early this morning or on time. All right, now where's did I already lose? Oh, my computer. Boo, I got to go to my desktop. I got to get my notes. I don't have my Word document here. If for any reason I make a mistake and accidentally disconnect, I'll log right back in. Don't panic. Do not hang up. I'm going to have to go to my desktop. Let me see here. I can't remember. Give me a second. I thought I had this all. You're going to love what I'm going to do if and when I do it. Don't hang up on Mr. Edwards. Okay. Caesar, can you still hear me? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here and I can hear you.
Let me get my notes. I can't remember. HDT. There they are. Henry David Thoreau. I want to put a little analysis out for the next thesis. There's the notes. You recognize the notes. Don't say you don't. So here's the next analysis, thesis. The thesis is that in other countries, child labor laws are not child labor laws. Hold on. Remember, you have to write. Listen, look at me struggle. You have to write thesis straightforward and direct. It has to be. It has to be crisp, precise, concise, and straightforward with a single action verb. So I'm going to start over, and you got to use the injustice as your main noun. You got to use injustice is the main noun. So, for example, child labor laws is the injustice. Child labor laws in some countries are still. Let me. I gotta scroll. How about this? Are abusive and unfair to children. Hold on. My main noun is the injustice I want to attack, child labor laws. I say some countries because it's not true everywhere. It might be, but that's a harder paper to write. And then my claim, see, this is my claim, is that children are abused, they're exploited, they're not paid, and oftentimes it's almost equal to slavery. Now, I want to tell you, I wish I could show you a documentary on this. There is one that exists, but I can't do that right now. The last time I tried to find it on YouTube, I couldn't, but I have watched it in my life. You need to listen to Mr. Edwards very carefully. In England, Great Britain, there is a chain of stores, and it's called Primark, as in price marking. That is the English, that is the European version of Target. We have Target in America. We have Sam's Club. We have Costco. In England, they don't have Target. They have Primark. Is that clear? I'm going to come back to you. Is my thesis so far clear that we are exploring child labor abuse in other countries? Yes, no, or maybe? Is it clear that we are going to explore through thesis from a student's homework child labor laws as being unfair in other countries? Can somebody say yes, no, or maybe? Or I'll just sip coffee. Yes, thank you. Now, number two, where we have Target, and we all have been to Target, their version of Target is called Primark. That's just a Target. It's just another name. It's a fancy name for we have low prices. So there was a journalist in the BBC. That's their investigative news bureau. We have NBC News. They have BBC News. About 10 years ago, again, it was on YouTube. I just couldn't find it. I couldn't find it when I was looking for it earlier, but I've seen it before. Here's the premise. You're going to love this. And I will try to YouTube it in front of you just to see if I can find it one more time. An investigative journalist and his wife went to Primark, which is Target, about 10 years ago. And his wife bought a yellow dress with sequins, with nice little hand-stitched glass sequins, a party dress like Daisy would wear in The Great Gatsby. And even though they have English money, it was about the equivalent of $13. $13 for a evening gown dress that you could wear to a fancy restaurant or a club. And this journalist, he was scratching his head. And he said, how could that be? That's $100 dress. 200. He says it's hand stitched. It's perfectly hemmed. He could not figure out why it was so cheap and how that company could make money. So he, using the label on it was made in India, he spent 6 months, a year, finding the manufacturer of that dress, and it took him all the way to India. And when he went to India, nobody would talk to him as if there was some big secret. And so he did something that only investigative journalists do, and undercover police for that record. He disguised himself as a buyer, as a English buyer looking to buy cheap dresses to sell in English stores. And so under the false pretense of being a wholesale buyer, somebody whispered him over and took him to a secret manufacturing factory, a secret, out in the middle of nowhere, this huge factory full of sewing machines and 11-year-old boys and girls. They were 9, 10, and 11 years old. And they were working for no money, maybe a few rupees, certainly not enough to exist. And thousands of little kids, like your little brothers and sisters, I'm sorry to say, but that's how it would be true, were hand stitching little glass beads onto the dresses. And in the documentary, the man who owned the factory said adults could never do this work. Their hands are too big. In order to get the real detail, you need little tiny hands. And so the Englishman who was pretending to be a buyer, who was actually a reporter, he had all that caught on secret film. You know, they had hidden cameras. And then he exposed the entire ring. He exposed all of that exploitation and child labor abuse in England. And a lot of those, I do believe that that company was no longer allowed to do business with Primark, which we know to be Target. So that is that not interesting? Okay, was that interesting enough to spend 3 minutes to see if we can find a clip of the video on YouTube? But I couldn't find it earlier. But was that interesting enough to try one more time to Google that? Yes or no? Okay, so let's try. I don't think I couldn't find it before, so don't hold Mr. Edwards accountable. I tried a variety of search engines. It was called Primark. The documentary. And you know, it was BBC was the name of the news service. BBC, Primark. He's not coming up now. It was 10. Oh, there it is. There's a clip. That's it. That's the guy. I'm screaming. My neighbors are going to be like, why are you screaming? Undercover, the refugees who make our clothes. An undercover BBC investigation. Now, this is Syrian. This might be. Hey, class, I'm going to come back to you for a minute. My bad. I don't think this is the documentary I was talking about, because the documentary I was talking about was in India, but it looks like they've made more. Let's watch this clip and let's see for ourselves just what's truly going on with child labor laws in other countries. I've not watched this before, so if anything inappropriate comes up, I'm going to have to stop it. I think this is the one that I want. Let's watch this and see what happens. Hold on, don't I have to do a filter? Stop.
It's 8 a.m. in Istanbul, and Syrian refugees are hoping to be
Stop.
hired. So you can see there, just...
Don't I have to do a... Don't I have to do a do an add-on so you guys can hear it? Remember, Peter showed me how to do that. Hold on. Can you hear this?
I think is the middleman.
Caesar, can you hear this?
Selecting his crew for today's work. The chosen ones can
Very roughly.
It's just 15
Very,
years old.
very low.
They're dropped off
I can hear it, but it sounds rough.
for the British High Street. They don't have work permits, so they can only work illegally. After a long shift, they're paid on the street. Some get little more than £1 an hour, well below the Turkish minimum wage. I meet up with one of them later to find out what clothes they are working on. Can I see the labels?
I don't remember the names exactly, as I don't know English, but I have the labels with me.
That's Marks and Spencer. That's an iconic British brand. Marks and Spencer said our findings were extremely serious and unacceptable to M&S. Permanent legal employment to all affected workers. Says we will do all we can to ensure they can return to school. In total, Panorama found evidence of Syrian refugees working illegally on clothes for 5 major brands. Dara McIntyre, BBC News.
All right, that was a clip. Now, I'm going to explain that. I'm back. I can't remember how I have to do an add-on. Oh, boo, I can't remember all that. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out later. Well, you got to see a little clip there. So there's another good example of a thesis. Child labor in other countries. And we know that's happening, and there's very little we're going to do about it. That's a very complicated debate. All right, so let's we could either outline, we need to complete our work on Henry David Thoreau. We're still not experts. So I guess I'm going to go to, we need more content. So I'm going to go to the college database and I'm going to skim the article on Thoreau and his biography and see if we can't learn more about Henry David Thoreau. So let me just knock out Thoreau for a few minutes. So we're going to go to Poetry Foundation. And when we go to Poetry Foundation, we're going to get Henry David Thoreau. And there he is. Now, make sure you got your notes. I'm going to skip around a little bit because a lot of this is very complex, but I just need you to be learned in Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau is recognized as an important contributor to the American literary and philosophical movement known as New England Transcendentalism. We defined that yesterday. His essays, books, and poems weave together two central themes over the course of his intellectual career: nature and the conduct of life. The continuing importance of these two themes is well illustrated by the fact that the last two essays Thoreau published during his lifetime were The Last Days of John Brown and The Succession of Forest Trees. John Brown was an abolitionist who tried to free the slaves. The Last Days of John, in his moral and political work, Thoreau aligned himself with the post-Socratic schools of Greek philosophy, in particular the Cynics and Stoics, that used philosophy as a means of addressing ordinary human experience. His naturalistic writings integrated straightforward observation and cataloging with transcendentalist interpretations of nature and the wilderness. In many of his works, Thoreau brought these interpretations of nature to bear down on people, on how people live and how you ought to live. That's very important. Thoreau's importance as a philosophical writer was little appreciated during his lifetime, but his two most noted works, Walden, or Life in the Woods, 1854, and Civil Disobedience, 1849, gradually developed a following, and by the latter half of the 20th century had become classic texts in American thought. Not only have these texts been widely used to address political philosophy, moral theory, and environmentalism, but they have also been of central importance to those who see philosophy as an engagement with ordinary experience and not something that's abstract. Towards the end of his life, I'm over here, next paragraph, I'm skipping. Toward the end of his life, Thoreau's naturalistic interest took a more scientific turn. Oh, then he went into the science. Okay, so we got a little bit there. Hey, I can do something that I'd be happy to do for you. I have Walden in my library. I could show it to you. You guys want to see Walden? I need a second. This is school business. I'm sorry, class. This is school business. Okay, that was Phoenix Military Academy. I had to deal with that. I would never do that unless it was. I just want to get it out of my life. You guys want me? I forgot I was going to grab it earlier. You want me to go grab Walden off the bookshelf and I could even read to you? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, let me go grab Walden. You should see Walden. I've got a very nice early edition. 1 second. It's right there. It's right there. No shenanigans while I'm away, or don't make me regret this. Okay. This is a nice copy. I'm back. Is everybody here? Because you guys might have taken a break or something. Let's do a quick check-in. Only because we're getting sloppy. We didn't do our ritual. We didn't do our pledge. It's my fault. Caesar, are you there? You there, Caesar?
Yeah, I'm here.
Edward, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
And Stavrola. Okay. No, don't forget, I got to take attendance because you guys, every day you show up, your grade goes up. So remind me, because my attendance book's on my dining room table. I have to take attendance. Don't. So this is Walden. This was originally published 1854. So slavery was still raged for 11 more years. And he wrote this. This is a lot of writing, folks. Let me look. Hey, let's play a pop quiz game. He wrote this book in 2 years, 2 months at Walden, where he had almost no visitors, total solitude. How many pages do you think he wrote in 2 years, 2 months with no distraction, looking only at the ducks in the pond? I dare you to comment. How many pages can you write in 2 years? Anybody who comes in within 50 pages gets a silver star or a Mr. Edwards shout out and $5. How many pages? Wait, hold on. Let me go here. Oh my God. Caesar, did you Google that? Edward? Okay, your guess.
No, it's because 2 years are 2 years, 365 plus another 365 is 730 plus another 2 months, which is 30, and
You're
790.
You're almost exactly there. He wrote 732 pages in 2 years. So Caesar's the winner. Okay. Now, you do get the $5, but I charge for my courses. You know, CPS only pays me a base salary, the wonderfulness and the extra. So I'm only, because it's summer school, I'm only charged you $25,000 for the first summer school. And now that I have to come back and remediate your grades, that's another $10,000. So you owe me $35,000 each of you. But Caesar, you only owe me $34,995. Does that make you feel good? And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Mr. Edwards, we could never pay that. Yes, you can, because you're going to get the best education in the world and you're going to make millions. And then when you write me a check for $50,000 in 10 years, it ain't going to be nothing because you're already rich. You're going to be like Gatsby. Think about that. You're going to be like Gatsby. No, don't be like Gatsby. He died for it. Don't know anybody but Gatsby. All right, so this is Walden. Let me break it down for you. And I'm serious. You could check this book out of the library. Of course, we have to be safe with COVID. I also have about 50 of these books in my library at Phoenix. So maybe when you're juniors or seniors, when we return to normal, you could always check this out from me. So you could read this book in the next few years if you're interested. So So what I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to show you what you do. So, Mr. Edwards, what is the thesis here? I'm going to show you what life looks like. Hold on, I got to go back to the notes because you missed the notes. We just read it, but I didn't note it. I'm going all over the place because it's late August and I'm sitting on my back porch. That's why. Now, hold on. Henry David Thoreau's, we always call him HDT. Henry David Thoreau's philosophy was in two parts. One, three parts. One, social injustice. Social injustice. He created civil disobedience, which is to peacefully protest and resist to peacefully protest and resist injustice. Example, sit-ins. And watch this magic trick. Wearing black armband. See the magic? Do you see the magic? Number two. So his philosophy is in three parts. He fought social injustice, which already makes him a saint, a martyr. Number two, he went to jail for his beliefs. Number two, he was a nature lover, and he was a environmentalist. He wanted nature to be free. He didn't like the pollution. And number three, he was a what I'm trying to say is his philosophy was based on how to improve your life. His philosophy was based on how to improve your life. Now, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to save this. So he was social injustice, environmentalist, and improving one's life. Now, my bad. I keep hitting all these buttons. Now, what a guy. Mr. Edwards, where do I sign up for a life where I'm known for my social? Mr. Edwards, what can I do to be recognized by the entire world for being one of the great caretakers of social justice, for being one of the great caretakers of Mother Earth, and for being one of the wisest men or woman, doesn't matter, to make me live a more whole life so I don't die in pain and depression? Well, then you read Henry David Thoreau. Hello, duh. You know what's so funny? I'm going to say something. Tell Grandma to leave. Grandma's got to leave now. I never read Henry David Thoreau in high school. My girlfriend did. She went to New Trier. I went to Loyola. I remember her studying Thoreau, and they gave her the book. They gave her Walden at New Trier. We read the Bible. We were Catholic boys. And I remember her saying how interesting it was. And here's my point. Forget all that. I never read Henry David Thoreau in high school. I read him in college. And I'd wished I'd read him earlier in life. He's perfect for your age because he tells you how to live your life more abundantly. And so let's go through the table of contents, and I'm going to give you a glimpse. I'm going to read some of it to you, but I know it's hard to see because of the sunlight, but I'm going to show you each. If you see here, each of these stories, these are the page numbers, is a different diary entry. He wrote a total of 19, well, they're called essays because they're longer. Each essay is like 20 or 30 pages. He wrote 19 essays on living life while at Walden, knowing that A, he had no visitors for 2 years with very little exception. B, he built his own house, made his own food by trapping and fishing. And he never got bored. He never got frustrated. That's what's so... We get bored and frustrated so easily. We need a change of scenery every day, which is why we're going crazy during this pandemic. Not him. Why was he so content? He had a pond, some ducks, a fishing pole, and an axe for firewood. Yet, as Caesar noted, he wrote almost 790 pages without stop. So here's the topics. His first essay is called Economy. In other words, how to get the waste out of your life. Maybe get friends that are bad for you out of your life, or foods that give you, that make you feel bad, like junk food. His second essay is his most famous, Where I Lived and What I Lived For. He's justifying the fact that he went to Walden. I'm going to read to you later from that. Then his third essay is called The Pleasures of Reading, and you should read. His fourth essay, get this, you're going to love this, is called Listening. I can hear the birds right now in my backyard. He just listened to the sounds of birds, and it made him happy. His next essay is called Solitude. I need to be by myself right now to collect my thoughts. Then his next essay is called Visitors. He did invite some visitors up to Walden to tell them his story. I don't know how many, but we could find out. His next essay is called The Bean Field, where he had a little bean patch, and he grew green beans. Now, hold on. True or false? Mr. Edwards, at least, is inspired by Henry David Thoreau, right? True or false, Mr. Edwards has a bean patch, too? Well, of course I do. I'll show you Mr. Edwards' bean. It's right there. You can't beat me. Look at that bean. I grew these on Avers Avenue. We're good. Ready to go now. Next essay. As soon as I digest my bean. I always grow a bean field every summer in honor of Henry David Thoreau. The beans really came up this year. Look at that bean. Next is the village. He went and explored the local village one day. The next is the pond. His fishing pond. Then the Baker farm, that's his neighbor's farm. Then higher laws, him praying the Bible. Then brute neighbors. Some of his neighbors were mean to him. Then housewarming. He invited some people over to see the house he built. Then winter. Then the animals that came out in winter. Then the pond that froze in winter. And then finally spring came. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Now here's Page 73. I'll read you a little bit. Let me just find something good. This is where I'm just reading ahead. This is where he's trying to find the right place to build a house. Maybe I'll read you this paragraph. Let me just preview. There's one passage I wanted to read. I can't find it. Boo. Here, I'll read you this paragraph. He just got to Walden. When I first took up my abode in the woods, that is, began to spend my nights as well as days there, which by accident was on Independence Day or the 4th of July, 1845, my house was not finished for winter, but was merely a defense against the rain. Without plastering or chimney, the walls being of rough, weather-stained boards with wide chinks, which made it cool at night. The upright, white-hewn studs and freshly planed door and window casings gave it a clean and airy look, especially in the morning when its timbers were saturated with dew, so that I fancied that by noon some sweet gum would exude from them. To my imagination, it retained throughout the day more or less of this arousal character, reminding me of a certain house on a mountain which I had visited a year before. There was an airy and unplastered cabin fit to entertain a traveling god. And where a goddess might trail her garments. The winds which passed over my dwelling were such as sweep over the ridges of mountains, bearing the broken strains or celestial parts only, or terrestrial music. The morning wind forever blows. The poem of creation is uninterrupted, but few are the ears that hear it. Olympus is but the outside of the earth everywhere. I'm going to read that again, that last part. Can you believe that's so poetic? You have no idea. He's saying that the house that he is building is fit for a traveling god or for a goddess to hang her rich garments. Somewhere there must be a house on top of Olympus. Hey, Jose. I could go on at length. So there you have Walden. I'm going to read a little bit more here from the analysis. I'm going to read from the biography of Thoreau. Thoreau was the genius of Concord, where he was born on July 12, 1817. Although that venerable and tranquil town was sheltering two other eminent men of letters, Emerson and Hawthorne, and at least two minor literary notables, Thoreau was bone of Concord's bone and flesh of Concord's flesh, and he could never be torn away from the town where he was born. He was part of the landscape. When Thoreau was a young man, he helped found the intellectual and spiritual life known as Transcendentalism, which believed in the infinity of man. His books, lectures, relationships, walks in the field, his philosophy and politics was a spiritual history, an interest in cultivating the vague, aspiring ideas of time. It was a fine place for a man whose curiosity was unlimited. His father was descended from sea captains and merchants from the Channel Islands of Jersey. His grandfather was a moderate storekeeper in Boston. His mother was from a Tory family. I believe that's English. his mother's house was invaded by George Washington's army during the Revolutionary War. Oh, this is good. Henry went to Harvard College, that's Harvard, in 1837 to cultivate his mind. I'm trying to find where he was a teacher. I think he was a writer. When he graduated from Harvard, he had high hopes. He was a serious young man. Okay. The most important thing he ever did was to go live alone in a hut at Walden Pond. He borrowed an axe to cut down a white pine timber to frame his hut. Oh, I didn't know that. Now you know something that nobody knows. Nobody knows. He didn't even own his own axe. He had an axe to chop down the wood for the house. He had to borrow it. Nobody knows that. And his protests against injustice, etc., etc. He said, God is in the woods. Oh, here's his refusal to pay taxes. I'll read this to you. You'll really like this. Please pay attention. This is really important history. Thoreau, everything remarkable about Thoreau sprang directly from his devotion to nature. It was nature more than man. It was the out of doors more than books or political discussions that taught him the necessity of independence. A free man himself, free by his own principle and vigilance, he despised the cowards who conformed. He had a poor opinion of his townsmen who mortgaged their lives for a farm and pushed a house, barn, and 60-acre woodlot down through the long years before them. He disliked the gentlemen who had isolated themselves from life by civil employment or social artifice. He was contemptuous of the million compromises men make with their government to acquire wealth or to preserve the peace on a false basis. As for himself, he knew the fundamentals of life so thoroughly from personal association with the flowers he ministered unto and the woodlots he surveyed for his neighbors, that he had no intention of making any compromises with his genius whatsoever, and he swore that he, at least, should be a free man, though everyone else sold his soul to comfort and convenience. This is Chapter 5, Great Gatsby. This is Gatsby. Gatsby is the reincarnation of Henry David Thoreau. You heard it here first. That is why, get this, that is why he refused to pay the poll tax to a government that tolerated slavery. And that is why John Brown was his man. John Brown was a famous abolitionist who freed the slaves. All his life, he had been conducting an individual rebellion against the slavery of thought, commerce, and manners. When John Brown rebelled against slavery at Harper's Ferry on principle alone, at the certain risk of his life, Thoreau completely understood him. It was his sort of thing on a greater scale. It was what he had been waiting for. Although some of his neighbors counseled caution, Thoreau took the initiative into his own hands, summoned a village meeting, and pled with his townsmen for justice and action with more cogency and eloquence than he had ever imparted to a speech before. He carried the John Brown defense to Boston at considerable personal risk. Although the militant John Brown, it did get violent, episode may seem alien to the life of a solitary philosopher, it was really the logical and brilliant climax to his philosophy. To love nature was to worship freedom. To believe in nature was to rebel. I guarantee if I like Gatsby, when I read Gatsby to you, I guarantee I could read you all 730 pages of this book and you would never blink. It's so good. I'm going to give you the top 5. Here's what I want. I'm serious. I'm going to put you in the B game. I'll make even though Miss Novak has a right to make, because I'm teaching Miss Novak's class, if you will. I will recommend that you get a B minimum for this summer school program if by 9 p.m. tonight you send me a thorough quote that you Googled from the internet and a brief 1 to 2, 3 sentence explanation of why that quote will help you improve your life. I'm going to give you my top thorough quotes. I'm going to say it again because it's going very fast. If you email me by 9 p.m. tonight with a thorough quote and you analyze that quote in one good paragraph, I will recommend that you get a B or higher. Tomorrow's the last day of school. Though Miss Novak could be resistant, I will recommend. And here's my favorite thorough quotes, then we'll look at the homework more thoroughly. This is my favorite Henry Thoreau quote. This is my favorite Henry David Thoreau quote of all time. I dance to the beat of a different drummer. I dance to the beat of a different drummer. Number 2. God is in the woods. I dance to the beat of a different drummer. God is in the woods. Nature is freedom. I went to the woods to live deliberately. I wanted to suck all the marrow out of life. Marrow is the inner side of your bones. He wanted to live life all the way deep inside his bones. Now, I'm going to show the homework, and I'm going to add the extra credit for the B. Your homework, and I'm starting to get more homework. I appreciate it. I read every one. I got one still to read. Your journal entry number 3 for tomorrow. Let's find the journal entries. That's quite a bit of learning for 2 days, wouldn't you say? So here's your last journal entry. Henry David Thoreau. Oh, where's my scroll? I can't find my mouse. There it is. I'm right here. Henry David Thoreau lived in a one-room cabin in the woods for 2 years. Could you live like this? He saw nobody. He saw a few people, I get it. He read, wrote books, and meditated, and took long walks. What would you do? So it's a 2-part question. Could you live in the woods for 2 years? And if so, what would you do? I mean, I'm sure I would fish, write, meditate, take long walks. I get it. So take a minute, write down your homework, and then your extra credit is research and find a quote from Henry David Thoreau and explain how that quote can help you improve your life. Trust me, you want to improve your life. I'm telling you, I am your teacher. You want to improve your life. There's your homework. 2 minutes. Get that in your notes. Okay. Now, for the first time in human history, we are going to play the Henry David Thoreau spin the wheel. I am just going to arbitrarily open up to 5 different pages in the book without thinking, and I'm going to read a paragraph from each page to show you the profound thinking of HDT. Page 199. Every man is the builder of a temple called his body. To the God he worships, after a style purely his own, nor can he get off by hammering marble instead. We are all sculptors and painters, and our material is our own flesh and blood and bones. Any nobleness begins at once to refine a man's features, any meanness or sensuality to imbrute them. Every man and woman is the builder of his own temple. Let's spin the wheel. Ho, 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 ho. Page 535. This is so beautiful. It's a single paragraph. Though it is still early in the morning, I saw a nighthawk circling over the meadow, and I heard the peep, which is one of the prevailing birds in the woods, and then I saw the robin. Though it was still early in the morning, I saw the nighthawk circling over the meadow, and then I heard the usual peep, and then the prevailing bird in these woods, and then I saw the robin. Okay, let's spin the wheel. 3 more. You can play at home. Ho, 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 ho. His grocery list. Just like Great Gatsby, when Gatsby wrote his notes. His grocery list. So he had to go into this, in 2 years, you have to go to the local store once in a while to get coffee. So here's what he paid. He paid his journey into the country store. Doesn't say the year. Well, it had to be either 1845. So he bought a hoe, which is, when you garden, you have to rake the soil to make he bought it for 54 cents. He had his plow repaired for $7.50. He got seed for his beans, 3.5 cents. He bought a pound of potatoes, $1.33. That seems expensive. He got a bushel apiece for 40 cents. He got some turnip seeds for 6 cents. I don't know what white line for crow fence is. I don't know what that is. He borrowed a horse for $1. He borrowed a horse for obviously, if you're going to borrow a horse in 1845, it's going to cost you $1. He needed a horse for his plow. And the horse cart was 75 cents. So you could live. Presumably, he's got a month's worth of food. You could live for $14 a month in 1845. Spin the wheel. Um, the sand, as in the beach sand. The sand is the great enemy here. The tops of some of the hills were enclosed, forbidding all persons, lest feet should disturb the sand. And then it just keeps going. That's so funny because that's so true because you don't want to get sand in your sandals. You know, I just came back from a beach in Michigan and it took me 3 days to get the sand out of my shoe. So he got that right. Sand is the great enemy of man and women. One more. One more. I dug my cellar in the side of a hill sloping to the south where a woodchuck had formerly dug his burrow. I dug through the sumac and blackberry roots to the lowest stain of vegetation, 6 feet, 7 feet below the earth, to a fine sand where potatoes would not freeze in winter, etc. All right, here now Mr. Edwards has to move because it's the part of the class where I'm sitting in the sun. Give me a sec. Let's recap. That's a pretty heavy morning of transcendental philosophy. So this is my own little Walden. I'll show you. I will for you because you're so nice, and then we'll talk about what you got to do to pass this class because it's a little bit shadier now. Behind me, I got to get like a camera. That's my bean field right there. This here, this is my bean field. Okay, let's review. Okay, so I'm very happy that we got, it's like I'm in Walden. Got my tree behind me. So let me review. I'm gonna add. I'm done. Now rest is on you. I gave you all the inspiration I could think to give you. Tomorrow we'll celebrate, and tomorrow I'll tell you. The good news that you'll pass this class, and I'm just sweating a little. And then we'll take a few weeks off and then start over in September. But let me just ask each of you, and you can type if you don't have your microphone. Do you find, like Mr. Edwards, especially, I want to be very careful here. I do not want you to misunderstand my teaching because we're stuck at home. I thought it would be great to take a virtual tour of nature because we're not getting out into the parks and beaches like we normally would because of you know what. So here's what I want to do. I wanted you to share it with your classmates. I want to have some closure. The journal entry number 2 was if you could go anywhere in nature, where would you go? I went on at length and said I would go climb a mountain. Caesar, I read your essay, so where would you go and why? I know, but they don't. Go ahead, your turn.
Wait, me?
Yeah.
I would go to Puerto Rico to get more in touch with my culture. I don't know. It's like a big thing to my family. They're really into it, and I've always really wanted to go and see the island. I heard my uncle tells me like the beaches are beautiful and everything, and the higher you get into the mountain, the more it's like nicer. But yeah.
Good. I too always wanted to go to Puerto Rico. I really do. Edward, I don't recall. Were you one of you actually literally wanted to go into the woods like Thoreau? I can't remember who that was. Edward, what was your entry? Or if not, where would you go?
I think I go to Bora Bora. It's a tropical type place. It's like all clear water. It's nice beaches, and it just look really serene.
I don't remember where I've heard of it, obviously. Is that in a like a Pacific Ocean or is that in I don't. Where's Bora Bora?
I forget exactly where it is, but I think it's in America actually.
It's one of those. We're gonna Google it. It's one of those places that everybody's heard of, but nobody knows where it is. I swear to you, I would not. I don't know. I can't remember where Bora Bora is. Oh, it's a tropical island. Yeah, so they'll be in the Pacific Ocean by Hawaii, Fiji. Look at that. Hey, let's go there. Whoop, lost it. Let's go there. Wow. Okay. I love it. Who wouldn't want to go to Bora Bora now? Okay, Jose, what was yours? Where would you go if you could go anywhere, but it has to be nature? I got to read that now. Oh, you were the forest. Yeah, he submitted his homework last night. So, yeah, you'd go into the forest. Not any particular forest? America? Europe? German forest? California forest? The forest by your house? Let's look. Any forest. Good for you. Just like Henry David Thoreau. That's where he went. He went to the woods. He went to the woods. All right, you're next, Stavrola. I didn't get a chance. No, I don't think. Go ahead. Where would you go? Got to think now. Okay. You don't like nature? Okay, fine. Watch this magic trick. If you could go to any city in the world other than Chicago, where would you go? You would? Did you go to Germany? When did you go to Germany? What year? Oh, that's unbelievable. I lived in Germany too with Mrs. Edwards. I had an apartment. I loved it. Oh, did I love Germany? 2016? That is so amazing. I've been to Germany several times, and I've been to Germany twice in my life. And then I lived in Germany for 2 months with Mrs. Edwards. Mrs. Edwards works for a German company and speaks German. Oh God, do I love what part? Could you name any of the places you went? Could you like name a city like Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, Hamburg? I went to Stuttgart. Did you see that giant chessboard where they Stuttgart, Germany is this beautiful part of Germany. It's got like a lot of hills. Remember the hills? It's really windy roads. Oh my God, I loved it. Oh, you guys have just made my day. You guys are well traveled. I'm very impressed. And don't worry, Caesar, you'll get to La Isla soon. Wait, hold on. Yeah, I remember the huge plaza. I played chess. So I remember. Yeah, Stuttgart was fun. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to enjoy today. I feel is that you've been properly remotivated because you lost your motivation. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write journal entry number 3. If you could go anywhere, journal entry number 3 is, could you live for 2 years in total isolation in nature, and if so, where? But Stavrola, you could write about, could you live in Germany for 2 years, and what would you do there? Would you go study? Would you go to college there? Would you meet people? Where else would you want to go in Europe? So you can write about this if nature's not your cup of tea. So you have to pick a place. You have to pick a place that you could live for 2 years with almost by yourself. I mean, I know I could do it. I have a wife, so I mean, I could never leave my wife. But I mean, if I could, I mean, at your age, you know, um, I hitchhiked through Europe, like Stavrola. I lived in California by myself when I was young. I could do it. I just can't do it now because I'm married. That's my point. And then your extra credit or bonus homework is to pick a quote. All you got to do is Google Henry David Thoreau quotes. Here, I'll show you. This is something that you can just do for fun. Just Google Henry David Thoreau. I bet I'm typing on my lap. Quotes. And read through the quotes. There's 239 quotes. Brain Quote is a very good source. Everybody uses Brain Quote. And just find, whatever. I'm not very good at Googling, but there's Bora Bora. Okay, we could book a trip to Bora Bora right now. $2,107. We're there. Just Google Thoreau quotes and read 10 quotes and pick one that speaks to you. And I think tomorrow, because it's Friday, you will all pass the class. Let's do attendance. Let me get my attendance roster. Assuming you all joined assuming you met me 4 times, then you'll pass the class with a decent grade. Let me get my notes. Let me take attendance. Make sure you guys are compliant. I'll be right back. It's on my table. Okay, let me take attendance. So 8:11, 8:12. Today is 8:13. And I've got Caesar, Edward, Jose, and Stavrola. Now let me look. Monday, my bad. Tuesday, I hit Stavrola, Caesar, Edward. So yeah, Jose, you didn't get the memo. I get it. You'll be excused for that. Wednesday, I hit Edward, Stavrola, Jose. So Caesar, you were absent on Wednesday?
No, I just came in a little bit late. I slept late.
That's right. And then today I got Caesar, Edward, Jose, and Stavrola. So you are all compliant for the week. If you all check in tomorrow, which I know you will, there's no reason not to. Friday, I can't say your grades out loud, but I will make good recommendations to Miss Novak and Miss Tobias. You certainly will not fail the course. I got your back on that. I'll fight for you. See, Mr. Edwards understands one thing. He understands how hard it is to be motivated. And the fact that you lost your motivation is understandable at your age, but you still didn't finish what you started, which is the complaint against you. But then they called me in to remotivate the troops, which is what I do. And you've shown me some commitment. You've said, look, Mr. Edwards, I get it. But you listen to me. I'm in a lot of shade right now. You listen to me, and I'm going to tell you the difference. The difference is that at your age, you are allowed to make mistakes. as long as you admit to making a mistake, you get to do it over. But the older you get, the less forgiving the world gets. So the reality is this, now pay attention. At your age, you have 3 absences in a week. Ms. Tobias calls you, and you get to start over and make up those 3 absences with Mr. Edwards. But 20 years from now, you have 3 absences in a week at your job. You get fired. You know I'm right. Then you got to go out to the woods and build your own house and live in solitude because you don't got a job no more. The difference is you are still here to learn. And someday when you are learned, you will teach others. You will pass the learning on. And I'm sure many of you teach little kids, your siblings, maybe a cousin or two. You know what I'm talking about. You will never let your little kid brother or sister trip and fall. You would never let your little kid brother or sister trip or fall. Why would we let you fall then? So here's the bottom line. Here's the thesis. You ultimately did the right thing. And there's not everybody. There are, I hate to say it, some of your classmates are going to fail this course. Because they fell. And nobody picked them up. Or they did not pick themselves up. So be proud of yourselves. Know that you've been redeemed. Henry David Thoreau would be proud. You never would have heard of Thoreau if you didn't trip and fall. Think about that for the rest of your life. You never would have heard of Henry. You might, maybe down the, I'm not, that would be arrogant to say. You wouldn't have heard of Henry David Thoreau, maybe. You don't know. So I'm good. I'd like to get more written work for you in case people say, where's the written work? I can show them the journal entries. And tomorrow, I think we'll just celebrate. Tomorrow, maybe I'll answer some questions that you have about maybe life or what's going to happen in CPS or what are you going to do for the, what are you going to do to get ready for sophomore year? I can tell you some of your teachers. You're going to have like Mr. Bernthal. He's wonderful. Miss Novak, whom you know. I'm not sure who's the geometry. Who's the math teacher for grade 10? Who teaches? Oh, Miss Perret. I don't know. I don't know who teaches grade 10 math. And then, and if you ever find yourself tripping and falling again, you just email me and I will pick you up. I promise. All right. Again, I don't have anything else today. I can't start more work now because tomorrow's the last day and I don't want to end the course with a whole bunch of, mess. I targeted the following. I targeted social justice issues as thesis statements. I used Henry David Thoreau as an example of a man who fought social justice his whole life. I showed you how to think about writing better thesis statements by writing directly, crisply, precise and concise. Whatever you're attacking, that's your main subject, and you get that verb in there, and you make a statement, and then you defend that statement. And then you can argue, and your argument will be respected because it's organized, it's structured, it's whole, it's not biased. There really is. There is a lot of opinion, a lot of misinformation, and a lot of controversy in the news. And I don't want you to be poisoned by that. I'm going to do one quick review, and then I'll let you go. I'll let you go at 11 a.m. I just want to make my point. When it comes to writing thesis statements, these are the rules, and the rules don't change. Let me just finish. Let Mr. Edwards finish with his teaching. I just lost my mouse. Oh, I'm all over the place. My eyes hurt. These are actually the most important notes I have. A thesis is a statement that must be proved. It's from the Greek. It means connection. Think thematic connection. I'm going to look at a topic, social justice in America. Thesis. ICE is an immoral way to deport innocent immigrants from America because it separates families and puts children at risk. It's crisp, it's straightforward, it's direct, and I'm attacking the injustice as my main noun, and I'm using quick action and verb. I now need to prove my thesis through credible quotes, research, data, statistics, charts, etc. I also need to defend my thesis by writing with pathos, which it makes people want to believe me, by writing with logos, which makes my argument logical, and by writing with ethos, my sources are not biased or fake or opinionated. And then how do I know I'm writing a good thesis? Is my topic important? Is my thought process critical? And am I inviting others? Am I respectable? Am I inviting others into the conversation? Or am I saying I'm right, you're wrong, end of debate? Nobody wants to live like that. That's the problem with this world. They think they're right and you're wrong. You think you're right and they're wrong. That's not a debate. That's everybody clinging to their beliefs. That's what's the problem with this world. All right, so I'm going to end class now because I'm essentially done with. My job was only to remotivate you, to give you peace of mind. Okay, so tomorrow, 9:30 a.m., I'll send the Google invite. We'll just have a nice little celebration, and I'll answer any outstanding questions. And just do your last homework so I have the evidence. So I'm going to say goodbye. Caesar, goodbye. Edward, good evening. Jose, good afternoon. And Stavrola, good morning. I will see everybody tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for recap and to celebrate. We'll have a coffee on the porch, and when we will have a sense of accomplishment. And Henry David Thoreau will be proud of you. Okay, goodbye. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm done.